innovate, and create lasting impact. And today I have my special guest helping business owners to get the most from their life's work and exit in their terms. None other than Mr. Darryl Bates-Brownsword.
Hi,
Welcome.
Daniel. How are you today?
I'm fabulous and great. Mr. Darryl, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I met?
Sure. Look, Daniel, what I do is, first thing, I host a podcast myself, similar to you. The podcast is called Exit Insights. And what I do on that podcast is I want to get the message out to the world, especially here in the United Kingdom, that as a business owner, you've started up your business. No one taught you how to run a business. You've built it up over many years. And at some point, you're going to get to the stage where you're going, hey, I'm ready to move on to something else. Unfortunately, the statistics show that only 1 in 5 people get to do that successfully. And my mission with the Exit Insights podcast and some of the consulting I do through Exit Factor is to change that stat. If we can just move the needle by 1%, we're having an impact. But after all that work, we want business owners to be able to get that exit and to realize the asset that they've been working towards building there over many years.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Darryl. Thank you. And let's empower fellow podcast hosts. Okay, here on Entrepreneurship 101, we will salute you. We give you the best of the best, and good luck to your podcast. So today, let's talk about exit on your terms. So tell us, when you hear the phrase exit on your terms, what is the first image or feeling that comes to mind? What does a dignity in ending look like to you?
To me, what that means is a business owner who gets to the point where they want to sell their business or hand it on to their family, being able to do that pain-free and to be able to do it and get the exit without having to work another several years just to get the money that is promised to them at the sale. So if their business is exit ready, they'll be able to complete the transaction and then transition out of their business without requiring to be locked in or without having to work a number of extra years to get the pension or enough money to keep living. Whatever their terms means to them, they get that successful exit and the transition from where they are to where they want to be seamlessly without feeling like it's a torture program, which often happens, unfortunately.
Very well said, Mr. Darrell. Is having control over your exit more about the timing, the manner, or the reason behind? Which is of these three feels most non-negotiable?
It depends on the requirements of the owner. Sometimes if they start planning early enough, it'll be about the timing. Too many business owners leave it to too late and they don't do any planning. And then they just get to a point where they go, right, I want to exit my business now. And they think it's like selling a house and they can just put it on the market. So in that scenario, whenever you're selling your business, you're likely to be selling it to someone who's bought businesses in the past and they've got a bigger business than you. So that really puts them in control. So they put you on the back foot as a business owner, especially as most haven't done it before. They don't know the process. They don't know what they do. So without the preparation, they're out of control. Now, the way to mitigate this is to prepare your business and surround yourself with the right advisors to make sure you don't leave money on the table. Now, some business owners just want to be able to exit the business because they've extracted enough wealth in their world during running the business, and they just want to make sure that they hand over the business to the next generation. Now, that could be family, it could be employee ownership, it could be whatever. But the key to this whole idea of exit planning is making sure that the owner's clear about what they want, and then that they can make that transition and they can do it That's why I say do it on their terms, because it could be about control, it could be about timing, it could be about money, or it could be about the terms of the deal. All those things add up. It's about understanding all those things and getting clear what you want in your journey and preparing for it.
Do you believe we ever truly have a complete control over our endings, or is it a good exit more about how we respond to circumstances beyond our control?
You're never really in 100% control, but the more you're prepared, the more in control you are, because you know what you've got, you know what the business is worth, you know how attractive it is to the marketplace, which gives you options. With preparation, you've got options as to what exit path you take. If you don't prepare, you you really have to take what you can get, which you have no control at all. So I think, maybe there are market forces that are outside your control, but the more preparation you do, the more you can mitigate those issues and drive the process with the right team around you.
Certainly, Mr. Darrell, think of someone you admire who handled an ending well, a retirement, a departure, a farewell. What specifically do they do that left a lasting impression?
Um, the ones I'm thinking of immediately are the business owners who look, as entrepreneurs are visionary people. They're always forward thinking. They're often very optimistic. They're very ambitious and active, and they've always got something on the go. So they're the sort of people who often struggle to leave their business unless they know what they're moving on to. So if they know what they're moving on to, and it could be, they want to go on and manage their property portfolio, they want to be involved in running the golf club, the yacht club, whatever other hobbies it is they do, or do some voluntary work. And they have a vision of what they're going to do, some sort of project or travel or whatever it is, but they know what they're transitioning to. They are the ones that are better prepared and are able to have that successful handover transition from an emotional and personal perspective. They're excited about what they're transitioning to. A lot of those also that have a successful exit, just in my view, are the ones who, in that smaller, medium-sized business, have had a team that have worked alongside them and helped them build the business over many years. And the stories I like are the ones who reward their employees, often all of them, um, when that just totally wasn't expected from the employees. And the business owner takes a personal um, responsibility to ensure the transition of the employees into whatever happens next is a successful one, and that the employees go on to bigger and better things. So it's a big opportunity for them as much as it is for the owner and founders to step out of the business. They're the stories that I personally like seeing.
If you could write the final chapter of this particular part of your life today, what would be the title of that chapter, Mr. Darrell?
So if I was to write the final chapter for me, it would be, I guess, around um, selling and sharing the stories and raising awareness in the marketplace that, as a business owner, that this is a period of your business that needs to be planned and managed, and it just doesn't happen by chance. So the chapter would be around the awakening or the awareness in the marketplace that that is one of the skills that you need to have in your business, along with business planning, financial control, communication skills, influence and inspiration, and things like that. So it becomes a known skill set.
Very well said, Mr. Darrell. Very well said. When considering an exit from a long term career or role, what would need to be in place, particularly financially and emotionally, for you to feel ready?
So that's a really good question. So I think for a successful exit, there are three components. So firstly, the business needs to be ready for new owners. So that means that the business can cope with a change of ownership, i.e., it's not dependent on the owners or the founders. There are no key people in the business in primary roles that. There are other key people that are significant, important factors like sales or production or delivery revolves around a singular person that would make the business weak if they left. The other thing is, so the business needs to be exit ready. The owners need to be ready for exit. So that's the second component. So they need to have stepped out of any key roles and ideally operating in a chairman type role or possibly a CEO type of role. But mentally they're ready. They know what they're moving on to. They're ready. They're energized. They've set up the succession behind them. And the third component is that the numbers need to work. The state of preparation of the business needs to be that the valuation of the business and the realizable terms of the deal are such that the owners will get their aspirational goals, or that they will get enough out of it, extract enough wealth out of it to live the next part of their life as they wish to live. So they'll feel that they've been successful because they've extracted enough out of the business, whether it be goals or ambition or just not having to work again, whatever that looks like to them. They're the three components. The business needs to be exit ready when the owners are ready to exit and with the numbers that work.
Thank you for sharing for that, Mr. Darrell. Thank you, thank you. Is there a fear that leaving a certain role or identity behind might mean losing a part of who you are? Or how do you separate your role from yourself?
Yeah, look, and that's a significant issue with a lot of business owners. And that's why I go, look, the owners need to be ready to exit. That's exactly what I'm referring to. They need to know what they're moving on to. Why? Because it the whole point of having a new vision of what you're moving on to is what overcomes that fear of separation, or the fear or the association of your whole identity being wrapped up in your business, especially if the business is around your name. So yeah, serious issues, Daniel, and a lot of work needs to be put into helping that owner or the founders, in plural, be ready for that transition. They've built years and years and years building that business around them, and they often think of it and treat that business like their baby. And it's a bit like your baby growing up and leaving home. You need to be ready for that. It's an emotional jolt, a transition, but with a bit of preparation and planning, you can overcome it. And especially, that's why I go the biggest part or component, the key to making that work is when you know what you're moving on to and you've got that new vision and you're ready to go.
Yes, ready to go indeed. And Mr. Darrell, if you could design your ideal transition, whether a gradual wind down or a clean break or a mentorship period, what would the structure look like?
The structure for me would happen over, look, it would be the design if we do it academically. I think there's succession planning and then there's exit planning. And this applies to everyone in your business, including the owners, and the owners do the route first. So if you imagine the owners starting their business, when they first start their business, it's often because they're good at a skill or an industry, and they build a business, start a business in their industry. So they start doing the work. So the first succession is to get out of doing the work and becoming into a manager's role where they're managing others doing the work. Then they need to succession themselves out of that management role into the CEO type of role. And that way they're not doing any of the key work themselves. They're not managing people in any of those key functions. They're just running and leading the business overall. The next succession is then to succession themselves out of that CEO type of role into just a board role. So they're sitting on the board. They're no longer operational in the business, but they're in a strategic and governance role in the business as a board. They still own equity, but they're no longer operational. They're just on a board level of the business. The next succession then is out of that chairman type role of the board and to be a shareholder only. And then full exit is then when they sell their shares. So if you think about it in a staged approach, and there's 5 or 6 steps in that journey, depending on the size of the business, then the owner gets used to moving through roles and creating succession plans for those roles for the next people moving through those roles. Now, that's the best succession and exit strategy that I've seen, and the business owners, they just get used to it, and it just becomes the next step in their journey, and they become quite comfortable taking those steps because they've done similar steps in the past, and they've always seen successful people backfill behind them.
Very well said, Mr. Darrell. Looking back at the past endings in your life, what is the most valuable lessons you have learned about what not to do when it's time to go? Hmm.
Make decisions faster and make mistakes faster. Realize
Hmm.
you've made the mistakes and just recalculate. Accept that you once you've made the mistake, just acknowledge it and replan and move on. There's no point dwelling or putting off making decisions for fear of making a mistake. Uh, yeah, that, I guess, in a nutshell, that's what it is for me. Yeah, just make decisions quicker, get on with it, risk making mistakes, no big deal, move on, keep going.
Yes, move on and let it go, people. So, Mr. Darrell, as you helping business owner to get the most of their lives, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My long-term goals are is to continue building exit factor here in the UK. It's very much as a franchised opportunity. We've just started it in January of 2026. So my longest term goal is to get that up and running with the team and my partners that I've got involved with me. There's 3 others of us working on building exit factor in the UK. Getting that as a successful franchise, I think, is the mark that I want to leave over my period.
Luck to your goals, Mr. Darrell, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, you don't want to be like me.
Why not?
I think what business owners want to do is they've all got their own goals and aspirations for their businesses and their lives and their families, and with a bit of planning and thinking in advance and really thinking about this 3 to 5 years before they actually want to exit out of their business is what will give them the most satisfactory and rewarding results for them, their family, their business owners, and the people in the business. So I think that's, living life, exiting on their terms is the achievement we're working towards, helping as many of those as possible get what's right for them.
Thank you for that empowering advice, Mr. Darrell. If an exit forced or untimely, how do you begin to reclaim a sense of agency and redefine what your terms mean in the newly or a new reality?
So what do your terms mean is specifically different for each owner, but what I mean by that is if you have a look at the statistics out there for business owners trying to exit their business, 1 in 5 are successful. And that means 80% who try to exit their business fail to get that successful exit. So 80% are not doing it on their terms. Only 20% are getting successful exit or are getting an exit. I'd say half of those are getting to do it on their terms. And so what do I mean by your terms? It's the terms of the deal that you negotiate and sign up to at the point of deal closure and agreement is that, hey, look, you're going to work for the business for the next 6 or 12 months. You're going to hand over whatever it is you agree to, that the deal actually completing on those terms, and those terms being desirable terms for you. Some business owners have prepared their business so well that they can step away from the business after signing of the deal. And all they have to do is just be available for a certain number of days or for a certain period of time, just to allow everything to settle down. Now, that's a pretty good deal. And as long as the numbers are working, it's a great deal for the owner. They've managed that successful transition. Others have to sign a deal where there's some sort of earn-out arrangement where they go, hey, look, the buyer's going, I don't think the business is quite worth what you want for it. So if you stay and work for the business for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever is agreed, we will pay you these bonuses over the next 3 years to get the budget figures that you think you're going to achieve. We don't have a lot of faith in them, but if we'll sign up that if you stay for the next 2 or 3 years, we'll pay you these bonuses. Now, you're being pushed or bullied into a position to take a deal that you're not in control of, to use your language earlier. Now, one of the big reasons that you're not in control is that you no longer own the goalpost. The new owner owns the business and they can do with it what they please. So whatever terms you've put in place and agreed at that time, the money you get there and that at the time of signing is the only money you can really count on. Now, all deals are a bit different and depending what you've signed up to specifically, but what I've seen is just too many owners, after they sign up for that earn-out agreement, for whatever reason, they can't complete that 2 or 3 year period. And that could be just because the goalposts keep moving, the new owners keep changing the rules and make it impossible to achieve the targets because they've got other priorities. Or it could be as simple as the founders just really struggle to transition into a role where they're effectively employed, and they don't like being employed because they used to call on the shots and they had the freedom to do everything they want. So some just really struggle in that different role. So that's what I mean on your terms. If you can get the business as prepared and as valuable as possible at the time, then you can sell and sign and get good money at the point of sale, or lock it in where it's just a delay rather than a variable payments. And you're on the front foot. You're not on the back foot reacting. You're on the front foot calling, demanding the valuation because everything is as it appears to be. That's what I mean when I'm talking about your terms. You're on the front foot negotiating, not on the back foot with your negotiations.
Very well said, Mr. Darrell. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in 6th season, abstract poetry in 3rd season, and of course my book 101 review in 6th season 2, comedy 101 4th season, and of course my food 101 in 6th season 2, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our 5th season, science 101, sex 101 4th season, and of course my baby podcast, trivia 101, motivation 101, spiritual awakening 101, entrepreneurship 101, law 101, mental health 101, coaching 101, of course my Bible verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Darrell, imagine the moment after the exit, the first day of whatever comes next. What does the day look like, and what do you need to have in place to face with hope rather than emptiness?
So that's what we talked about, having that vision of what you're going to do next. So some people talk about, hey, look, I just want to sit on the beach and drink pina coladas. Now, that's great for entrepreneurs, but
Yes.
after about 3 weeks, they're going to be bored because they're visionary
Mm.
people, they're active people. They need a holiday and that transition and the break. But after that, what is it they're going to do? They're going to drive their spouse, their partner nuts. They need to get on with that either the hobby or that transition plan that they talked about and work toward. Hobby, travel, charity work, golf club, yacht club, whatever it is, new business venture, you need to get on with that new project. Otherwise, you're going to go stir crazy. That's just my experience working with active, successful entrepreneurs who are always on the go.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, Mr. Darryl. And can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thanks, Daniel. Look, I host a podcast called Exit Insights. On Exit Insights, I'm talking to entrepreneurs who have exited their business successfully and shared their tips and tricks, and especially what they wished they knew before they started the exit process. They're the guys I'm talking to, and business owners. I'm also talking to people who help them get there. That's the Exit Insights podcast, and you can find it wherever you get podcasts.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Darryl Bates-Brownsword, because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself, more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So, Mr. Darryl, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Likewise, I hope you will be my regular guest on Entrepreneurship 101. If you have time, Mr. Darryl, please do come over and let's talk about anything under the sun about entrepreneurship. So, much people, see you